Gig rowing began more than 2 centuries ago when these long, sleek boats would race out to sailing ships to put a pilot on board. There were hundreds competing all round Cornwall, and the first one to a ship got the business. Racing gigs at regattas for big money was also very popular, intensely competitive and occasionally unsporting, as this correspondence in the Royal Cornwall Gazette of 130 years ago shows.
Previous to starting, a very liberal gentleman succeeded in getting a portion of the crew so drunk that they could not sit on the thwarts.
The prize money was so high that it paid crews to go to a gig race, because 1830, 1840, some places you could get 8 or 9 guineas at a gig race, split 7 ways. That was a lot of money between 7 men, probably more than a lot of men sort of earned on the land.
But by the 1930s, gig rowing had largely ceased, falling victim to the engine. The last oared gig to work was the Gypsy from St Agnes in the Scillies, and on December the 21st, 1938, she made her final trip, putting a pilot on the SS Foremost, earning £3.13. Most of the surviving gigs were in the Scillies, but they were just abandoned and left to rot where they lay. However, in 1951, to mark the Festival of Britain, the Newquay Gig Club, which still had 3 boats, decided to start racing them again. They then bought 4 more from the Scillies, marking a new beginning for the Cornish gig.
If those 3 old gigs had gone, I think that would have been it, because the old gigs in Scilly weren't being used. They were left in their sheds and sort of almost abandoned, really. So I think it was just a stroke of good fortune that Newquay came along and got the whole thing going again.
And it is going. The big regattas can attract several thousand people, and new clubs are being formed all the time. With one gig now in Devon, it's hoped the sport will spread through friendly rivalry along the south coast, making the next World Championships not quite a truly international event, but less completely Cornish. The racing of these traditional crafts, some well over 100 years old, is now a fast-developing sport with a fanatical following in Cornwall. And nowhere is gig racing taken more seriously than the Isles of Scilly, venue for the 4th World Championships. With few other facilities, gig racing is the sport.
We haven't got the facilities to play football against a lot of other clubs or rugby or whatever, and rowing has been here for 200 odd years, and it's going to stay. It's one of those things that Scilly is good at, and everyone here has an affiliation with the sea, and they do well.
32 boats attended the event. It was billed as the World Championships, although it wasn't exactly an international competition.
We have got a crew from Scarborough, and we've got one from Devon. That's as far afield as we go this year. But as I say, it is a World Championship, and that these boats are fairly unique. I think it's the biggest event of its kind anywhere in the world, and anyone is welcome to take part.
With the hopes of the world resting on them and a totally unfamiliar boat, it wasn't surprising Scarborough's expectations weren't high.
Not very much, actually, But we finished bottom of the pack, but we hope to improve on that today to achieve something, get some self-respect out of it.
Come on, mates, push it on!
Rowing is by no means exclusively a male domain, just as many women take part. But since every race seems to involve about half an hour of undiluted pain, the attraction isn't entirely clear.
It depends where in the race you are. The nearer the front you are, the more pleasurable it is. If you're at the back, it's pain all the way. It's just being all together. It's good fun, and then afterwards we all go down the pub.
Given how seriously these athletes take their sport, it's astonishing how much training is done in the pub. The point is, as the rowers will tell you, brute strength isn't that important. Good technique is crucial, and when they get that right, the sensation is said to be magnificent.
Oh, it's very exhilarating. You know when the gig's going smoothly, everybody's in perfect time, and you can hear the pins clicking, as the oars are all going together, and the gig goes along, she's smooth, she doesn't rock, the balance has got to be right too.
The crew of the Islander from St Mary's got it right, winning the men's championships, and the Fly from Newquay won the women's. As for Scarborough, they came third from last, and spurred by their success, are all set to build their own Cornish gig.
It's early morning. First out are the women from the Isles of Scilly. It's their waters, but they know it may not be their race. For Selina Thomas, their new gig is just as precious as those that date back nearly 200 years.
2, 3, back.
We've got a lot of old gigs here which have got an awful lot of history, but if we wanted to compete with the mainland crews, we had to get a faster racing gig. And it was a thing that Tom Chudley, who's a local boat builder, put his heart and soul into building her, and we raised the funds all locally.
Okay, this is Group C. Ladies, from the Rock, it's the Buller.
This is an anxious moment. It's the final of the World Gig Championships. For those crews out there, it's all or nothing now. Like lambs to the slaughter. But when the flag goes down, there's no holding back these girls. Islanders got fierce competition.
Good settled rowing now, all the way to the key. Length on every stroke. 1, 2.
Despite all Islanders' efforts, it's no match for Foy and Falmouth. Gallant from Foy takes the title, Selina's team comes fourth.
We knew that the mainland crews were very hot and they've been practising an awful lot, so we're really pleased. We would have liked third, but we'll settle for fourth.
There you go.
In the men's race, there's controversy. Last year's winner, Carradon from East Cornwall, has borrowed a brand new gig. Lighter than before, the Gwynnies is looked on with envy. Our micro-camera pictures show it all. This is what it's like to be best in the world.
It's the Anne Glanville crew in the Gwynnies.
The team to watch out for in the future has to be the Dutch.
Our motto is pulling is our pleasure. And that's the name of our team. Tio. Trekken is ons genoegen.
If not before, any remaining burst of energy is used up in the bar at the end of the day.